Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to one of your favorite podcasts. Of course, thank you so much for letting this podcast be in that group. Welcome to Sit and Relax. And you know what is exactly what we're going to do, and let's talk. So, thank you so much for all those out there listening. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your patience. Sometimes takes a little longer here for things to warm up, but you know what? Thank you so much for staying true and continuing listening to this podcast. So today, in today's episode, obviously we have another amazing guest. We have somebody very special, again, that we so wonderful to be able to hear stories, to hear the mindset of where they've come from and kind of where they are now, just different perspectives of everybody that's in this circle, right? In the circle of counseling and in the circle of psychotherapy, all this, and hearing all these different perspectives is amazing. So today with us we have Michael Gutierrez, Mr. Michael Gutierrez, MFTT, PLPCC, and I say T. I always include a T on that. But
Something
thank you
like
so
that.
much, right, for joining today. Man, how you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing. You know what? I love it. Loving life, man. Living the good life. Putting in
Yeah,
the
that's what
work.
it's all about. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So awesome. So thank you again for coming on board and for being our special guest today. So listen, we've seen each other a couple of semesters, a couple classes and stuff. But listen, it's such a privilege and an honor to be able to talk to you and to get to know you a little bit more. Apart from like what you shared like in class, kind of like your background. We have a baseball superstar here, right? Look at that. That's where he came up from and everything, and then transitioning now into this counseling. So please tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us about your story, bud.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess like definitely not superstar, but it is something that was a part of my life for many years, still is, but as a player, it was something that over 10 years. I started when I
Wow.
was 5 and finished when I was about 22. But yeah, it was a great experience. There's a lot of things that I got to learn because of that sport.
Mhm.
I feel like it taught me a lot about life, and it can go either way for anybody. It's an opportunity to possibly learn a lot about life, but it's also a possibility to just be down on yourself, especially with it being a sport of failure. And
Uh-huh.
so
Wow.
I think with the coaches around me, I was able to really treat it as this is an opportunity to learn rather than to like get down on myself. But I do feel like it really set me up for the rest of my life. Just the life lessons that I learned on the field are things that I can apply for the
Mhm.
rest of my life, whether it's relationships with myself, my family, future kids, like that ability to stay center, grounded.
Mhm.
Um, those are things that I learned on the field. And I attribute a lot of who I am today to that.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it's a big part of my life. I got the opportunity to play at the university level, and I kind of just I knew where I was going to school,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to walk on. If it works out, it works out. If not, then I know
Uh-huh.
that I like the campus. I know that I like the school. So it ended up working out, and yeah, it was a great 4 years there.
That's awesome. And what university was that? Give them a shout out. What university was that?
At Sonoma State University.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful
Wonderful.
area, beautiful
Uh-huh.
over there.
Oh yeah, that's
Wine
that.
County.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That the outdoors and all that scenery was beautiful, huh?
Yeah, no, and that's kind of like I guess that's kind of been a theme because I grew up in Monterey and
Uh-huh.
it's beautiful there.
Yes.
And I went to Sonoma State and the campus, actually the whole area itself is kind of like more country-ish
Mm-hmm.
Monterey. But they have their beach too, just not as nice.
Yes. No,
Uh
I would say even better. Dude, you're Northern California type of guy, then,
yeah,
right?
definitely. Uh-huh. But coming out here, I mean, it's definitely different
Big
and you do
change, right?
have
That's a big change.
it's hot. It's hot over here.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, the campus itself, like that's kind of partially what sold me.
And you're talking about
I
in the
love
CBU
CBU.
campus, right?
I
The
love
CBU
CBU
campus.
campus. Yeah. No,
Hmm.
I forgot whose class it was. Dr. Lewis's class where it's long day I would have because I was helping out at the CBU baseball team as well
Oh,
last year.
wow. Nice.
And so
Okay.
like long days, I finished up practice and doing all the things that they needed me to do and then going to
Yeah.
class. And I would just get out of Lewis's class for our little break and just like lay on the ground, but like just beautiful
Just
campus.
soak it in, right?
Yeah,
Just soak
yeah.
it in. God, it
Sunset
is.
coming down. Yeah, there's so much to appreciate
Yeah.
in general, but in particular on our campus.
Yeah. I could relate to that. Like even just walking around, like going to campus, or sometimes just when you just walk around, it's like you just
Hmm.
enjoy it and smell, because you can smell all like the fresh cut grass. You could smell
Yeah.
like all the, it's yeah. There's a smell. There's a smell
Hmm.
to CBU, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
I like going into the engineering building. Like
Uh,
I got nothing to do with engineering, but they got the nicest building.
I just
As
did that like
really?
last week because I had to go to the bathroom because I parked in
Uh-huh.
that backside over there. Had to go to the bathroom. I'm like, this is engineering. I'm just gonna walk in, right? And then obviously I walk in. I don't look like an engineer, so everybody just kind of looked at me. I was like, okay, and I just asked, hey, where's the nearest restroom? Man, I was like, that building is nice. That's a
Yeah.
nice building. Of course, of course. And then I'll see everybody, and everybody's like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, okay, bye.
They got so many areas to study too.
Yeah,
They got a lot of study rooms.
yeah, we do. So that's awesome. So you were able to make that transition, right? So you're from North Cal, you do your baseball, you do it's awesome. You're playing your dreams out there, and then you come down a little bit over here to Cal Baptist, you enjoy the campus, that stuff is
Hmm.
good, still participating with the baseball, which is, I mean, that must have felt good. It was just right back to kind of your comfort area, right? Right back to baseball.
Yeah, no, it was like a year off that I had to take because of COVID and my last semester at Sonoma was all remote. And so they didn't have a season that year. Um, and so when I got to CBU and I got to get back out there, it was nice because I had taken a break from it, and it was kind of just like I'm back where I'm most comfortable.
Yes.
And I get to see them experience what I experienced, but
Uh-huh.
now from a different lens, now from an
Yes.
outsider's perspective, and I get the frustration, I get the early mornings, and like the pressures of I'm trying to make a lineup this week. I'm trying to be on. I'm trying to make the road trip this week. Like it's stressful, and that's not even including school.
Hmm.
And um, I don't know if I'm like exposing athletes out there,
No, no, no,
but
no. You know
I
that
mean
we
most.
most of us, we have no idea like kind of what's going
Yeah,
on, but this is awesome. Thank you for giving us that insight,
yeah, no,
into
yeah,
the to that department.
yeah. But I mean, most of my team at Sonoma, they're gonna be like communications majors. What's another popular one? I think like public speaking, like,
Hmm.
it's stuff that like it doesn't require too much rigorous work.
Yeah,
And it's because, you have a long season, you have a long year. And
yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of like a give and take. Like most players that they go to college, like they're thinking about playing. Not too
Trying to
much
make it.
about, yeah, they're
They're
not too
trying to
much
make
about
it.
like
They're trying to make it to the
what am I gonna
big
do
big leagues,
after?
right? Trying to
Yeah,
make it to the
yeah,
big leagues.
yeah. And I mean, I went the different route and I decided to go into kinesiology. And there was a few of my teammates that were doing that, a few that were doing bio, and that's a different workload, especially
Hmm.
bio. Bio for sure is, I think, a little harder in its own way, just because of all the extra chemistry that you have to take.
Yeah.
Um, but that was back then. I thought that was what I was going to do. It was like, okay, if baseball doesn't work out, then how can I stay in this world of athletics?
Hmm.
And it was through kinesiology and through thinking that I would become a physical therapist.
Hmm.
And that was the plan. And I worked because of COVID. I got to work in that area for about a year as a PT aide,
Hmm.
and amazing experience. Like I probably I had the best boss that I think I could have had at the best
Hmm.
clinic that I could have been at.
Yeah.
And just a little tip advice to
Don't you
anybody listening.
drop
Um,
it, bro. Drop it.
they didn't want me like they were fully staffed
Uh-huh.
and they didn't need me there. And, like I just kept bothering the boss like once a
Kept
week,
knocking, right? You just kept
email,
knocking.
phone call. And, when I would preface it by saying, like, sorry for bothering again.
You were
But
all out, you
yeah, no,
know?
but I knew that that's where I needed to be if
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. I knew
Yeah.
that that was where I was going to learn the most. And so I'm going to continue to bother them until, like, they give me my chance. And then it helps that I speak a little Spanish too.
Oh yeah, that one helps you.
Yeah. But
Nice.
I honestly thought that that was the best place that I could have been at. My boss at the time, he was running 3 clinics. He was, big time, very involved with his family. He would coach his daughter's softball teams. He's waking up at like 4 in the morning to work out. Like,
Mhm.
this guy's getting the most out of every day. And when
Yeah.
you're around that, like, that's
Oh yeah. It's
motivating. Like,
contagious, right? It's
it is.
contagious.
It is.
It's just
Yeah.
like bad stuff, bad traits, bad things you do, and people see you, hey, that's contagious, but also uh right, product of our environment, right? What we
Hmm.
surround ourselves with. If we're around somebody who we see, man, it's just making it happen. It's like, how do you do all that? But you're
Getting
doing
after
it,
it.
right? It's like, dude, you're hungry. You're like, I don't think, man, I think I'm starting to get hungry too, right? It's like,
No,
oh
yeah.
man.
And I saw him as my mentor for a long time. And, maybe there'll still be more of that when I get back home. But, that was definitely somebody that I'm like, that guy can do it, so can I.
Yeah.
So um, it was great to experience that world. And
Uh-huh.
I guess this is where we can jump into the whole, like, mind, body, spirit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
and we've been getting the mind and the spirit in our program, which has been nice. And they sprinkle in religion here and there. And
Hmm.
I like the way that they do it, honestly.
And you're
Like,
talking about the counseling right now. Right now, you're
yes,
referring to the
yes,
counseling right now, the
yes.
clinical counseling.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I've liked how our professors have done it, where it's always put out there as an option.
Hmm.
And, like, this is how we would approach it from the spiritual aspect.
Yeah,
But it hasn't felt like it's been like, this is how you have to do it, and this is
yeah,
how
yeah,
people
yeah,
have to, like, receive it.
yeah.
They need this, which, I think, me personally, I do think that everybody seeks some kind of spiritual
Hmm.
being in their life. They seek to understand it more within
Hmm.
themselves.
Yeah.
But, that comes out in so many different ways for us.
Yes.
Person to
Yeah.
person, it comes out in so many different ways.
We're different.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But because of the kinesiology background, like, I got to get the body aspect as well.
Hmm.
And you just you just see it. You see it in their face. Like, they're coming in with a knee injury, they're coming in with a shoulder injury, and they tell you, like, my whole life has changed. And just think about it, like, from the perspective of some kind of diagnosis, like
Hmm.
someone that either is experiencing symptoms of depression or has full
Hmm.
blown depression. Like, their whole life has just changed because they're trying to live through this, they're trying to work through this.
Yeah. To the
And it's the same.
physical,
Yeah,
physical. Hmm.
it's the same thing with getting an injured knee. Like, you would have patients that would come in and say, like, I can't pick up anything more than 5 pounds, 10 pounds anymore.
Hmm.
I can't like, um, crouch to sit down. um, I can't play with my granddaughter anymore. And
Hmm.
so it's stuff like that, that just think about how much that's going to affect their day-to-day life, because now they're going through it knowing this is something that I'm limited with now. And
Yeah.
that takes a toll. Like, um, all of us start to become accustomed to, this is my routine, this is what I enjoy out of life. And if you
Hmm.
just take that away from someone, well, it's going to hurt them. And you don't know in how many ways until you see it play out
Yeah.
and how they go about it.
Yeah.
But that's why I felt like, yes, I'm helping them get better from their injuries, but I'm also listening to them, hearing about their struggles and how these injuries have impacted the rest of their lives. And so it
Wow.
kind of was like therapy.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Like to hear that as you're saying that. playing it in my head, I'm picturing it because there's like physical injury, right? The physical, which is obviously that's being treated and everything, but along with that, now we have that physical injury also caused now an internal injury,
Yes.
right? Like how it's affected, not just like you said, like your normal days, your normal activities and everything, but how you feel about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
After being like number one, or let's say like after being so active and just so out there and to be able to do this stuff, and now just not to be able to do it anymore because of the
Yeah.
physical injury. So now it's two parts. Now you have to
Mm-hmm.
work on two parts. It's not just one, not just, that's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah. No, and that's how it happens. Like, and that's just like the general public. But then, you could dive deeper into that and say, like, okay, now athletes that get injured, athletes that either have season ending injuries or career
Mm,
ending injuries, like that is their whole life. And you just take that away from them. You can't just expect for nothing to come from that.
yeah.
You
And
can't
when you say
expect
that,
them.
huh?
I was just going to say, you can't expect them to, for that to not affect other areas of their life.
Yeah. Like when you say that, the first thing that came to my mind was like, like big star athletes and, like big names kind of that go
Hmm.
through those injuries, right? And then you could see it and that it's hard for them to be able to come back from it, not
Yeah.
just physically, but it's like it's a mental thing as well, huh?
Yeah.
Is
No,
that kind of like,
definitely.
uh-huh,
Yeah.
kind of like,
Because, well, you're worried about possibly getting hurt again. Like, you were out for a whole year, maybe longer. Like, you definitely don't want to do that again. You know what it's like to be off the field. Um, and, that could be said with just day to day life as well. Um, like, let's say your thing is cycling, and that's how you get your exercise. That's what you love. That's what you enjoy to do as your hobby. It's very easy to fall off a bike, especially once you start to throw in like terrain and like courses, like if you're mountain bike riding. And then, there's also just like accidents that happen here and there on the road. Like, you can't do anything about them.
mhm,
Um, if that's what you love to do, and then you have an injury that takes you away from that, there's two sides to that. Like, you want to get back out there, but once you're back out there, are you going to be doing it scared, which is
yeah,
then going to put you at greater risk of hurting yourself?
yes.
Yeah.
What would you classify that as? Would you classify that as like trauma? Would you classify that as like kind of a little bit of like anxiety? Or
Yeah,
how
I'd,
would you
I'd
go?
see it. I'd see it more as anxiety, the
Hmm.
anxiety that is induced from the possibility of re-injuring yourself.
Hmm.
Um, but it's um, it's unfortunate because a lot of people get the anxiety from not being able to do what typically took away the anxiety. So
Yes, right. Oh man,
yeah,
it's
and
complicated.
it is, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But it just like reiterating how important it is um to remember that there is that body aspect,
Yes.
and it is something that we all need, and something that it benefits us in so many more ways than like physically. Like,
Hmm.
yes, it can keep us from injury, yes, it can keep us looking nice and slim, and like,
Yeah.
this is, I want to get my body right kind of thing.
It's like,
um
oh,
yeah.
show those muscles, show those guns.
Yeah, no, but I think bigger than that is what it does to you mentally.
Yeah.
And like, I remember there's this one person that I was hearing talking about exercising, and he just put it simply as, I work out hard so that everything else that happens in my day is seen as easy.
Mm.
Like, when I wake up and I like get after it, and I tire myself out to the point to where I'm just like gasping for air. And you think about it, like, it's true. Like, everything else is just like kind of a walk in the park. It's going to come with its own difficulties, but I don't know if it's as bad as that workout where you're gasping for air.
Yeah. And like it's crazy because like you correlate that, like let's say with like the mindset when something you overcome, right? You have like this big obstacle, you have like this big event that happened, right? Which was very hard, it was very traumatic and everything, but you overcame that, right? And then you're able to use that kind of like as the base of like, hey, if I was able to overcome that, like, you know what, like everything, come on, this is not that bad. I was able to do
Hmm.
that. Why can't I, why am I not going to be able to do this, which is so small? So it's so awesome just kind of hear that and hear that link between the kinesiology and like the counseling and the psychology. You know, it's like they go such hand in hand. It's
They do.
amazing.
Yeah. And that's where, I hope that there's just more integration,
Uh-huh.
I do think that it is the direction that we need to go, as far as if we really do care about someone's health, and that is our what we feel is driving us and what we're passionate about, then as people that provide services, at least to be aware that, there's more to it than just like our little area that we're learning about right
Yes,
now. There's more.
exactly. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we have to be experts in everything, but just to have the awareness of there's another aspect to this person's health that is important, and
Hmm.
it should be brought to light. And that's probably like a chance for a referral. um,
Hmm.
but it is important, because not only is it going to improve their life, but it's also going to help us achieve our goal of we're here to serve. And that's going to be proven through sometimes results. And
Hmm.
that's something that you got to check yourself too on, because you
Yeah.
don't want to just be purely result driven. And we our professors have talked to us about that earlier in the year, where it's like you can't have your sense of success just be based off of your client's success, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day it's for them to achieve or not achieve.
Yeah.
um, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be remembering that there are multiple aspects to this that need to be taken into consideration.
Mhm. Very good point. I think that that does bring back to me some of the classes, some of the lectures of being able to like as therapists, right? Like as counselors, clinical counselors, to be able to not just listen, right, to what's happening, not just listen to like the problem, but like you put out, it's like to also pay attention to the other factors of what's going on. You might be feeling depressed, you might be having all these signs, and you're meeting all these criterions, but like how's your normal day-to-day life? Like how's your sleeping pattern? Like are you getting enough rest, right?
Yeah.
Well, how's your eating habits? Are you eating healthy or eating too much?
Yeah.
Like exactly like you said, you exercising or you're not, so all those do play a factor. And yeah, right, referrals, because we might not know kind of like in depth into like what is good, what's not, but to be aware. And I thought you said
Hmm.
that awareness, man, that's awesome.
Hmm.
Man, I appreciate that. That's good. It's awareness, right? Coming from a kinesiology standpoint, that's awesome to hear that because it is very important. I
Yeah.
think it is. And thank you for bringing and exposing all this, man. This is good. You need to bring some more of that. We need to bring it out. What could be done better for kinesiology to be able to be exposed more um, to us, like as therapists, on the just the counseling psychology side?
Well, I don't know, but I do know that when I was going through that process of getting my bachelor's in kinesiology, I needed to take a psychopathology class.
Hmm.
I
Wow.
needed I needed to take intro to psych. And
Really?
so those two
What?
classes are what made me not have to take any classes before going to CBU, before
No
applying.
way.
I was like
Interesting.
the bare
Uh-huh.
minimum that I needed, and I had it because of my requirements in order to graduate at Sonoma. So, I didn't need it in order to, well, I think it's just like recognition that,
Uh-huh.
it is something that if you're going to go down that route, you might become a PT down the road. Like it would be important to know basic psychology. It would be important to like maybe catch what's happening with that, with what you're learning in psychopathology class, of
Hmm.
like, hey, maybe this is something else.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe, maybe they need to be sent somewhere else, this patient that's in my clinic. Um, but I think that that would be something that could possibly be done. Um, and maybe that's something where GEs are taken out,
Hmm.
and some GEs are taken out, and you're getting more of like this broader picture approach to each field,
That is,
which
yeah.
I think it's a great way to go about it. Like,
Hmm.
yes, you should have the option to take certain GEs if you're like, oh, this sounds pretty interesting. And
Hmm.
that's something that's coming out of your pocket, but it's a conscious decision that you're making, not you got to get X amount of GEs in order
Yeah.
to get to your in order to graduate basically.
Yeah.
um, yeah, maybe they can make it more applicable to this is not just what you know in your field, but
Hmm.
you know a little bit outside of that. This is knowledge that can also help you in
Yeah.
other ways in your field.
Hmm.
But I do think that that is possibly something that could be done, could we could benefit from. Um, yeah, I mean, if you just look at, I'm trying to be a physical therapist, like there's
Yeah.
not many, most people wouldn't think like, oh, okay, that means I need to take intro to psych and
Hmm.
I need to take psychopathology.
Yeah, right. You really think it, but you're right. Some of these things, like it's very, not only are they beneficial, like in the moment, but down the road, it's something that you're gonna touch again, and that it's gonna bring like, okay, put these together, and I kind of hope you have not just a better, but just have a already coming in with an understanding of it. It's just gonna allow you to be much better at it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of with that. So kind of with that, like, something we're going to talk about, and man, it's been so interesting. I'm like listening, I'm like learning, I'm like taking notes, man. This is like, okay, hey, so kind of right now, you're in your internship. Where are you doing your internship right now?
I'm at Outreach Concern. So it's an agency that like works with different schools. They work with high schools in LA County, middle or elementary schools in Orange County, and yeah, they're just contracted to different schools. Typically, they just send out one person from the agency to each school,
Hmm.
and depending on where you're at, you might be sent somewhere that has like a wellness team, and so that could be like the school counselor, and then I think they've been calling them wellness technician,
Faculty facilitator.
something like that. Yeah, yeah, wellness facilitator.
Right, well, it's facilitator. So what you do is
Yeah.
that you go to these places, you go to like these schools, and then you give them pretty much kind of like what do you give them? You teach
Well,
them, or like kind of
no,
instruct them, or
no, we get so I guess because it depends. Like at the place that I'm at right now, this is the second year that they've used outreach. And so I have
okay,
a follow-up from last year of like
got it.
these were the kids that were kind of seen at the end of the year. Um, just check in with them to see if this is something that they want to continue with, if they want to continue to receive counseling.
Gotcha. Okay,
Um,
okay. So
yeah.
I thought I understood. I thought it was with the faculty, like you were dealing with the
Oh no.
faculty and helping them and kind of instructing them and teaching them. But no, okay, so you do the counseling with the kids then.
Hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that can come from teacher referrals, parent referrals, self referrals. I can refer based off of like I see something that's kind of like alarming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been interesting. It's been pretty cool to experience that different side of therapy because it
Yeah.
is very different.
It is,
And
yeah. Not your typical like
no,
clinical office setting, like come here. No, you're like actually like they're just looking and being aware, like, okay, this person, what I understand is this person or this kid or client can have this. So you go there to determine whether yes or no, pretty
mm,
much.
well,
Got it.
and well, I'm working with them
Okay, and working
and
with them too.
yeah, having sessions with them, and I have my own little office, which was nice. Not everybody gets that.
Look at you. You got your own little office? Oh
Yeah,
man.
and
Nice.
I think for what I'm getting, as far as this being like its own little kind of community,
Uh-huh.
of like working with like uh, children, like I do think that it's worth like getting that skill set because like if I worked with high schoolers, adults, even like just teenagers in general, like it's kind of all pretty much based around what we've learned so far,
Hmm.
and it's all very much in the same pool of
Hmm.
like approach. But once it gets to kids, you get more into like that play therapy.
Hmm.
and the jargon's not going to be as like sophisticated, and you got to make sure that they can relate to what you're saying. And
Gotta be creative, right? Gotta
very
be
creative. You got to
yeah.
get down on their level, you sit on a beanbag chair with them and like talk, and it's very different. um but and that's why I feel like it's been good. It wasn't my first choice, but
Hmm.
I do feel like it's where I needed to be, because
Hmm.
I'm learning something that I hadn't really been exposed to yet.
Hmm. I think that's very important with that part you said, being exposed and learning things that we're not accustomed or we're not familiar with, because once we get out there, once we're God willing, licensed, or it's right there, that's it's gonna be okay. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, we gotta be ready even for what we're not sure completely about, but just kind of be at least familiar. Okay, be like, all right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I'm glad I'm getting it's exposed to that now.
Hmm.
um and it is something that when I first started, I was kind of just like a little freaking out about, just
Yeah.
because I want to do good.
Uh-huh.
I want to provide the best service I possibly can.
Yes.
And in my head, I'm like, okay, well, my approach to therapy in general is a little more, I don't know, like I like to get deep. I like to
Hmm.
like talk to people in from like a more introspective manner, and like,
Uh-huh. Ask a lot of questions.
yeah, ask a lot of questions, just like get to know the person on a deep level. Like that's
Yeah.
my approach to like life in general. um and I made the joke last week in my child and adolescent class, that the teacher was asking everybody like, oh, like, what have you guys come up with a theory that you really like, and like something that you want to continue to use as like this is your foundational theory. And people are saying like CBT and like behavioral therapy. And I was like, well, existential, but like
uh,
I'm not going to approach kids from an existential standpoint. Like, we're not going to be finding out what they feel like their calling in life is. Maybe like as like just to see what they're interested in, but not like on a super
mhm.
deep level of like, what do you want to do with your whole life? Like,
Yeah.
what do you feel like you're not doing right now that's like hindering you from setting yourself up for the rest of your life? Like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
kind of
Can't
playing
get
this
that deep.
box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're gonna be like, huh?
They're like, well, I really want to use the swing. So um, that's where I think the biggest struggle has been. But I'm glad that it's been there, because
Hmm.
obviously that's what I'm comfortable with. That's
Hmm.
that's my world. But I think that one of the duties that we have to ourselves is to get uncomfortable,
Yes.
to force ourselves to have to learn in environments that we're not used to.
Yes.
I think that that's huge. That's huge to just our growth and our
Mm.
ability to help other people grow.
Yes. Yes, sir. That's it. And honestly, and to finish on that note, I mean, that's exactly what that came to my mind when you were talking about that. It's like we have to go through that in order for there to be growth, for there
Yeah,
to be, like, for us as like therapists, for us as like, going into like this profession and on the clinical level and getting licensed and stuff. It's like, in order for there to be growth, it is like we have to look at these challenges, look at these like right in the face and feel it, feel
yeah,
it,
yeah. No, it is definitely not the time to run.
like,
Yeah, got to go headstrong.
right. There you go,
Hmm.
right? Goodbye, that's it.
Yeah,
No, yeah, no. It's to face these and in itself, to be one with the client, to be one with the person. We have to feel what they're feeling in order to be able to see through their lens, to understand them, and to like what to tell them,
yeah,
and to help
yeah.
guide them. Because that's what we are. We're facilitators.
Hmm.
We
Yeah,
see, we feel, we look at it, boom. Okay, we see it. Now, how do I help you see what I see? Well, let me help you, let me facilitate you, but I gotta look through your lens. I gotta speak your language. I gotta have your body motions, you do this, I gotta start doing, it's like, let's dance,
yeah, yeah. I mean, you'll never truly ever be able to fully put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like,
Mhm.
you know, you can say, we've both experienced grief. We've both experienced loss. We've both experienced depression, but that doesn't change the fact that they've lived, let's say, up to this point, like 21 years
Hmm.
in shoes that you have not worn. And so that experience, although it's still grief, it's gonna forever gonna be different than anything that you've experienced.
Yeah.
Your values are probably slightly different or majorly different. Um, your background, your triggers, like the things that really get you are going to be different. You'll just never be able to fully understand somebody
Yeah.
else's life and their emotions. But, yeah, it is our job to do our best with that and to walk alongside with them and be the facilitators, like you said. Um, and yeah, that's just our role.
That's it.
And but yeah, I think it's important to understand that I think real empathy would be knowing that although our goal is to try to be alongside them as best as possible to truly understand, it's also understanding that we could never understand completely.
Hmm.
And that's I think being like truly empathetic.
Yes. Yeah, very good point, man. That's beautiful, man. To close it with that is such a good one, Mr. Michael Gutierrez, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all that knowledge and all that everything that you've shared with us today on this episode. I really appreciate it and kind of helping us understand a little bit more of the relationship between kinesiology and psychology and counseling, right? How those two just have a relationship which they really pretty dependent on each other. That I
Yeah,
hear you now,
definitely.
I'm like, yeah, I see some, yeah, we need that from both. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good luck with everything and continue on your journey, man. It's awesome to be able to see you. And we're gonna be kind of finishing at the same time and kind of going on. And I can't wait and hope to continue this friendship and relationship with you and continue to see you grow and do such amazing things.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate it.
thank you for having me. Thank you for all of these things that you're doing on the side to that all of us are going to benefit from. Like you're the one that's going out there and um, getting it going. So thank you for that. And you're doing a great job with this podcast. And I've always been a listener of podcasts in general, but I wasn't sure when and if I would ever be on one.
Yeah, there you go. This is
Um, but yeah, no, the first one. But no, yeah, I think it's important to also take a second to like thank you for what it is that you're doing, not just for yourself with this podcast, but like for the listeners, for everybody else that's in our program that would be possibly benefiting from the club. Like, you know, you're putting in a lot of good work.
Man, appreciate that, Michael. You're gonna make me cry over here. In this video here, they're gonna see me cry. Oh man. But they oh man, really appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. And God willing, we just continue moving forward. Like as a community, all of us together, that's where the strength is. The strength is in numbers. And we have God on our side, but also as brothers and sisters, just to be there for one another. And that's what we're just trying to push forward and keep going. So thank you so
Yep.
much again for your participation. And bro, let's continue working on this. Let's continue to make this happen, man.
Yeah. No, I
All
agree.
right. Everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. This is of course, one of your favorite podcasts. Sit, relax, and let's just do this. Let's talk. So thank you very much. You have a great one. God bless. Take care.